thus far this split is the bottom lane dynamic that they have going for them. And as we were mentioning earlier, BDD is a monster. He's still one of the best mid laners in Korea and in the world.
Definitely.
So I have to see if he can do anything here today, and how will KT approach the draft against Afreeca?
Definitely a big question. It's hard, you know, there's just so many tricks up their sleeve you'd have to imagine. We'd just like to see what those tricks will be.
And LeBlanc being banned away first by Afreeca. KT now banning the Lissandra away from UCal.
Yeah, he's been playing quite a bit of Lissandra, his most played so far. He's at 2-2 as well, so finding some success on the pick.
Nocturne now taken away. KT, they are on the red side, so they're most likely going to have to ban away the Cassiopeia at some point. I like the fact that they're waiting until the third ban. Maybe trying to get Afreeca to call a bluff, and maybe they ban it if they're not comfortable playing it, which I do think would be quite sad. But Afreeca not willing to do that, and now we're going to see if KT end up banning away Cassio.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, I think it's Griffin is the team that just says, yeah, I mean, you can't pick Cassio. We know it. We're not going to ban it. We don't care. And will they do it? They're going to leave it open as Galio gets banned here, so could be first picked on the side of Afreeca. But no, they're considering the Lucian.
Wow, and that's really strange if Afreeca wouldn't just snap up the Cassiopeia. You have Keen and you have UCal. And, I mean, Cassiopeia appears in bottom lane as well.
Yeah.
They're hovering it right now. This isn't a champion that you want to get let through. A lot of people have Lucian priority. Well, Lucian has short range, and Cassiopeia eats short range.
Yeah.
So stylistically, Lucian is going to often be a part of team compositions that could end up gimping themselves as the draft phase unfolds. And now, KT, just talking about gimping themselves, they end up getting the Lucian and the Urgot, so they are two power premier picks right now in the meta. Cassiopeia does well against both of them.
Yeah. Eats him for breakfast, that's for sure, but as you mentioned, power picks. Urgot definitely one of the most played at 26 and 15 so far. That's so many games.
Urgot is basically his current standing in the meta. Scion coming out. Now, the Scion and the Cassiopeia can both be flexed. They can go mid or top. Cassio does have the luxury to go into the bottom lane. But instead, Zoe now being selected. I don't think Afreeca will pull out a Zoe ADC, but who knows, maybe Spirit's playing Zoe support. Wants to hit some people with some bubbles, but I think that most likely this does indicate that it'll either be Keen or aiming on that Cassiopeia, and now KT handed back over. They're hovering his
Does
Zed.
he do it? I mean, it's good into the Zoe, but okay, they're not going to do it.
Well, that would just be a walking nightmare. Scion would just get Ninja Tabby, and then he would get Glacial Shroud, and then he would eventually get Thorn Mail and Frozen Heart and Righteous Glow. Just be impervious to the enemy team. It would be like a WoW raid boss or something. So they end up locking in the Thresh, and now what you end up having to do as KT is you most likely just want to either pinch junglers or supports. Problem is that Afreeca Freecs don't really have one clear direction with where their team composition needs to go. KT opting to ban away the Urgot, which is interesting to me because when the Zoe's on the team, they have the option to siege and poke, and especially Cassiopeia with that miasma, they don't have to funnel themselves into that super aggressive type of team composition where they just want to charge at you and hit you, like the Olaf would normally indicate. Freeca, though, banning away the Gragas, so that KT don't have a reliable enough jungler to reach the backline and get onto the Cassio and Zoe to try to knock them into the short range.
Yeah, and speaking of which, another aggressive jungler taken away. It will be Xin Zhao taken off the board. Will we see a fourth jungle ban coming in? And also, we have not seen the support pick just yet for Spirit, which I'm very excited about.
Now the pick is handed over to KT. Do you show your jungle, or do you show your potential mid laner here? I think that you just choose jungle. Not a lot of good junglers actually remaining for KT. You probably need an AP jungler, but there's not many remaining. I guess Elise is still available, and gonna go with Kha'Zix. This is massive amounts of physical damage. Scion is on the enemy team. Cassiopeia is going to be able to get the Seeker's Arm Guard and be very powerful in her mid-game wake-up now. So you need a heavy-hitting AP carry out of the side from KT. And when Cassio and Zoe are on the enemy team, BDD is someone that can pilot Azir really well, even though he's not a traditional meta pick right now.
Oh, okay, they're going to lock in the Kayn once again as well. Definitely something to talk about. Dread played it the last time around and actually piloted it to a win.
And speaking of the AP junglers remaining, well, okay, I don't know where they're going with this. Spirit is smiling.
Okay.
Fiddlesticks.
Fiddlesticks. A favorite of our good friend Papa Smithy, and even myself nowadays. Fiddle feeling pretty nice, actually. Does have a win here. I believe that was Lehens from the side of Griffin.
Speaking of a heavy AP carry, there is Vladimir. And he does end up getting locked in, so that's not the long-range Azir, so this is definitely going to be a very explosive team fighting type game, and we'll talk about the team compositions once they pan over them in just a second here. The Fiddlesticks, though, is really interesting to me, as he's sort of self-countered, at least in the dynamic of the Fiddle versus Thresh, but Cassiopeia, one of the few ADCs, or one of the few bottom lane picks that can actually bully back against Lucian. And Afreeca with the Kayn pick. You look at the lane dynamics, and it's going to be really hard to get Rost. And I don't think that you want to go Shadow, so it's going to be important for Dread to get those stacks quickly so that he can get the clock. Oh, this is the new patch, 9.2, actually.
Yeah, it's 9.2.
He can collect orbs for Rost regardless.
Yeah.
Caster, by the way.
There you go.
So
paying attention.
Yeah, paying attention. Here's the team composition: Sion, Kayn, Zoe, Cassio, and Fiddle. So if they do end up getting Rost online, they're going to be able to have the poke and the siege coming out of Zoe and Cassiopeia backed up by the CC and peel of Rost and Sion, but they do have engage potential with the Zoe bubble and the Sion ultimate. And on the flip side for KT, they're going ham. They need the Lucian, Urgot, Kha'Zix, and Vladimir to dive and engage into the opponent, whereas the opponent's team composition definitely more flexible. So this team comp needs to get ahead. If Lucian falls behind, it's going to be really problematic in the mid game for Urgot and Kha'Zix to do damage because of the way that Afreeca can itemize. And if Vladimir doesn't get to that late game, I mean, he's their only out once it hits late.
Definitely. So, guys, we're ready to jump into game one. Let's hop into it. Afreeca versus KT. Fans coming in, and actually I'm looking around, we're basically filled up for the beginning of the series. I mean, KT and Afreeca obviously have tons of fans here at the LCK in Korea, but generally, 5 o'clock, some people are busy in the middle of the day. I suppose we are here on a Saturday, so that makes it a little bit easier for people to come on in, and we are totally filled up for the first match here, Afreeca versus KT. And forgot to mention it, guys. You saw it on screen earlier, but our second match will be Griffin versus Sandbox. You do not want to miss that one. The two undefeated teams going head-to-head. Cannot wait. It's going to be a great day today for some League of Legends.
Yeah, and today, like you just mentioned, Sandbox versus Griffin, someone must lose. So definitely tune in for that match later on. But for this match, game number one, I really hope that it sets the mood for this series, as it's likely to be a very action-packed mid-game as, well, KT doesn't have options in mid other than basically just running at Afreeca.
I want to draw your eyes down to the bottom right of the screen. Take a look at Lucian's items. We're going to see Doran's Ring once again. Looks like Zenit liked what Viper was selling. He's going to buy it himself, probably going for that W max. Well, not max, but maybe 3 points. Get that harass going and have a bit of fun in the lane with some AP.
Yep. Bottom lane, Lucian and Thresh getting shoved in ever so slightly. And with Kayn, you can see the speed of his clear. There's actually very few junglers in the game that can compete with Kayn's clear speed. And when you have the lane dynamics that you do, bottom lane should be able to go even. Zoe can do fine in that mid lane matchup. Sion can do fine after first recall, and so Kayn should be looking to probably just avoid Kha'Zix and power farm and use his mobility to just scale up, get more jungle gold, and then look to have that explosive mid game and defensiveness that we talked about earlier.
Taking a look at the champions that Aiming has played. Of course, he had to sit out a couple of games because Spirit decided he was going to be the AD carry. I think it was like 3 or 4 games, actually. But the only awesome dude that he has played, the only non-traditional AD carry that he has played was Victor, and that was to a loss. I was just noticing his Cassiopeia mechanics. He missed a couple of CS, so hope he knows what he's doing on the pick and they don't just throw him onto it just because Cassio is such a high-tier pick right now.
And right here, you can see that Dread is waiting a little too long, I think, to start this camp. He doesn't know where is, but during all of this, bottom lane is getting priority, and because of that, now Spirit can come over and help. We might end up having a 3v2, but they get the flash out of
Oh boy, and now the Aftershock is down. Fiddle is so dead, as First Blood is going to be hand-wrapped and gifted over to KT Rolster.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the flash was out of Kha'Zix, but that Fiddlesticks got lit up really quick. And this is really bad start now for Afreeca. They had such a good bottom lane crash. They had the priority. We're going to take a look at it one more time.
Do we have to?
Yeah, well, really thought that, I guess, Afreeca was going to be able to kill him, but I don't think that there was any possible way for to die there, even if Fiddlesticks is there with his Ignite, because Snowflower was just in such close proximity. Had too much HP, and Kayn was on cooldown, so...
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a bit of a wonky situation, as not sure about the flash from as you are saying, but I feel like Spirit absolutely should have flashed. He saved it, and he died. He was punished really quick for that one.
Now, as we return to things, you can see Dread getting his blue side jungle. He's also going to get a hold of the other Scuttle Crab. One of the upsides, however, is that gets Dread's rubber banded Wraith Camp. It's a little bit of bonus experience for him, and then he's going to have rubber band camps to return to as he makes his way down to Dread's rubber banded golems.
Taking everything, and speaking of which, he's not looking for golems. He wants to get a kill, as even the TP comes in from the mid lane as KT are here to make a statement and shut down this Cassio bot lane.
Yeah, and this is really problematic for Afreeca. Lucian's going to get so many plates down there, and this isn't the lane that you want to be having fall behind. Now, Aiming does have the teleport, so he's able to get back and not miss all of the XP and minions, but definitely not the lane that you want to have getting stunted. We take another look at this again. Kha'Zix is here. Kayn's on the other side of the map. And Snowflower lands that hook. Aiming had nowhere to go. And then surprisingly after that, didn't elect to actually just try to steal away the big golem, I don't think. No, so Dread's actually going to get that as recalled and returned to his side of the map. And now this means he's in close proximity to try to help out Kingan as Kayn's on the opposite side of the map when his bottom lane is set to recall.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, you have your very squishy bottom lane try to double flash to get away from that gank, and they went down anyway. I mean, Spirit, I suppose he saved his flash, so gave over First Blood, but survived this time around, but can't really applaud him for that after all. So definitely not going the way Afreeca was thinking after picking up this Cassiopeia, as they're already down about 2,000 gold, only 6 minutes into the game. So having a bunch of fun so far is KT, who are desperately looking to find more success here in the LCK.
You did just mention the 2,000 gold deficit. Well, it's not the end of the world, 2,000 gold, because Afreeca does have the superior scaling inside of their team composition. It's not something that you want to be having happen this early on, especially because Dread not really getting any stacks, which means that his transformation is going to be very late. And if Cassio is behind, it's going to be really difficult team fighting for the Zoe and the Kayn.
Love how Dread is able to come over, peek over the wall, as nice little angle we're getting here.
That's a really good angle.
Dread is on a ward, so of course they know he is right coming on in, but Sion from the top lane is making his way in. They really want the Ocean Drake, and AT can say, hell, you can have it. We're not going to fight up against that. King is just going to have a fun time farming in top lane as, Spirit looks like he might be dead again, as well he does get the fear down. So he will survive this time around, and in fact, Aiming able to chip away back. So Spirit is able to get away alive somehow.
Yeah. Manages to live right there, and that was definitely a close call. And meanwhile, throughout all of this trade, I mean, KT invested a bit of time and resources into trying to get that Ocean Drake, which at this stage of the game is virtually useless, especially because you have a laner that doesn't even use mana as a resource, and so not really worrying about his sustain. I mean, Urgot is going to avoid Zoe inside of the laning phase at this point. That's the way that he's itemized, so not quite sure why there was such a heavy investment into the Ocean Drake. Kingen, during all of this, did manage to pick up quite a sizable CS advantage. He also does have the Kleptomancy, got himself a plate, and so he's doing quite well on the Vladimir, but Spectre's Cowl now for Keen and the Rejuve, it's going to be hard for Kingen to move Sion out of lane, and so just going to keep relying on the Kleptomancy procs.
Yeah, he's just going to be sitting there, farming up gold, having a blast. Doesn't necessarily need the kills. Would love to get online and get some of those kills as fast as possible, but as you mentioned, going up against the Sion, we'll just be farming his little heart away, and we'll be fine to do just that. So they do have that one source of magic damage that you were talking about, and we've seen what Vlad can do if he gets out of hand, especially from Nuguri in the past after he picked up double kill in the bottom lane off the good TP. So we'll have to wait and see if King can step up into the shoes of his older brother Smeb and actually make some plays on the Vladimir as we do enter the mid game.
Right now, Zenit and Snowflower just getting that Scuttle Crab for their team as begins to path to the blue. Likely going to hand that over to BDD and Afreeca. They want to make a play against the Vladimir. Kingen has Flash and Pool available. So
Spirit's not level 6 either.
Yeah, and they have to kill him within the Fear and the Silence. That's their only window to kill him. I just don't think that they have the damage. So definitely trying to flip a coin.
Yeah, and Aiming just sitting in the back brush saying, I'm trying not to die, as I am all alone now. Spirit has recalled and is heading back down to the bottom side, but you can see that the rotation is already happening as and BDD put down the double control ward and say, we control your jungle now.
And bottom has just been an absolute party for KT this game.
That's what you get when Fiddlesticks is in the game, right?
Yep.
Doesn't have the correct skin for it, but he's actually using the new skin, which I like the white chroma for that one. It's pretty nice.
Speaking of skins, the Kayn skin's really good.
Yeah?
I really do like that Kayn skin. I think it's the best one.
It's pretty good. I agree. It looks fancy.
It does.
But the rotation is coming in once again. You mentioned the plates down on the bottom side. As MT now trying to get on top of UCal. Looks like he might have upgraded his R actually. Gonna miss the Fear on Beyond Death because the flash does come in. UCal, we're looking to turn this one around as Dread is level 6, and here comes Sion from the top lane. Gonna miss that Paddle Star though. Spirit trying to make this a party, but the flash in from King in the Spear is not on time. But now Aiming, looking to get on in, has a Sion in front of him. Should be able to take out one. Snowflower also getting low. BDD rather is gonna go down, it looks like almost. And, well, backing off now, Afreeca going to have to be okay with just the 2 kills that they do pick up.
And I mean, that was still a pretty good turnaround by Afreeca. Dread got popped immediately by that Vladimir, but close call on UCal with the ultimate coming out of BDD. Take a look one more time. Gets the jump onto UCal, but BDD's ultimate just a hair too short. And then Dread coming in here forgot that Kayn doesn't actually really do damage until he evolves. And so Sion coming in with the ultimate, but you can just see right there, Dread annihilated by the Vladimir. Fear went off by Spirit. Aiming and Keen able to do so much damage, but look at Zenit. He's just not able to get into the fight until it was too late. And then he was being very cautious there at the end. Even though he had flash available, they weren't able to get more kills. Now, KT still has lane priority in mid right now. They're going to be able to get it back in bottom lane. Infernal's coming up in 15 seconds. And that's massive for both teams.
Certainly the pressure will be put on there, but already that side of the map seemingly owned by KT. But slowly, but surely, Afreeca is taking over control. also in the top side of the map, looking for a potential gank onto Keen. See if they can actually do it. Kingen looking to block that ultimate, and there's the flash. And Keen will be able to get away intact.
And this does mean that Afreeca now is looking to try to get this Infernal Drake. Snowflower and Zenit coming over, but it's not going to matter. The jungler's not in close proximity. They're going to end up trading a Herald that I don't believe will be able to convert it into turrets, or turret plates, unless maybe they use it mid lane. If they try to use it top.
Oh no, Spirit, not again. He even flashes to get out of that one, but it still is able to go down, especially now that Zenit and Snowflower have a nice amount of damage. Blade of the Rune King already completed. He just popped like a balloon.
Yep. And this does mean that Lucian and Thresh can try to shove in this lane and maybe try to get the last two remaining plates down in bottom. I think that just needs to summon the Herald right away. It's not worth holding it for any sort of lane control for a mid-game push. I think that you just want to convert it into several hundred gold, but instead decides that not today. Not today.
Today's not his day.
Not feeling it.
He's just looking to take the red buff instead. And as you mentioned, it's going to be too late to get on top of any turret and get any plates. Spirit once again coming up top side looking for a gank, but now Kingan's level 10, and he actually has a decent amount of items, including Protobelt, which he could use to escape. And so Spirit not going to commit to that one and just go back home.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they're intending to do here. You're never killing the Vladimir with just two of your members. And even if the thought process is, okay, well, if tries to gank or something, I can be there for a counter gank. Why is trying to gank after he just ate the Rift Herald? If he was going to recall, that'd take 8 seconds. Would take him a set amount of time to get back into top lane. Spirit's timing's mismatched for that, so not entirely sure what he's doing, but I think that this is actually sort of a testament to some of the desperate things that they're attempting in this game thus far, and it's interesting to see because their team comp isn't the one that has to do this, even though they're behind.
Well, we mentioned parties. It does kind of feel like the Afreeca pick ban and rosters has been a bit of a party, as everybody's just going wherever they want. Looking to get on top of Dread here. is nearby, but once again, that is the Kane, so he just hops the wall. Moves on through it, and Kangan having a fun time. Picked up a kill from the last fight, so he's actually going to have even more gold. We took a look at it. Wow, words are hard. The last time around, and he is, I mean, over 1,000 gold already ahead of Keen, who is just going to be building tanky. So Kangan should be feeling like he's having a bit of fun so far. As they're trying to jump onto the Kazakhs. Can he get the lantern? Yes, he can, but he's carrying a Kane with them. As see you later, but Dread is going to pay the iron price for it on the backside. As now, Keen coming in with his TP, but it looks like it's already too late. So jungler for jungler will be the trade in the end. Yeah,
and it's also important to mention that's not just a 1-for-1. Kane is getting passive stacks, and he got it on the most important champion, which is Kazakhs, giving him those Rost orbs.
Hey, take a look at the map right now. Afreeca just say, we really want this mid turret, but top's going down, bottom's going down. It should be a 1-for-2 in terms of the turret trades at the end of the day.
And Afreeca, they have that one Infernal Drake, another one coming up in a minute and a half. Kane still doesn't have his transform yet.
Yeah.
I think at this point, he just probably wants to force orbs.
Poor Blue Buff.
Oh, man.
Flew really fast.
Yep.
So that's a bit of fun.
Here's a Herald.
Yep. And, well, it could end up being a 1-for-3 if they do actually push onto this turret. Cassiopeia does recall, and Zoe is out of the lane.
It is Rost. I thought Kane's icon would change in the top left.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Okay.
Does pick it up.
Oh, this is big then. They have Rost for the next Infernal Drake.
Is quite big. If Afreeca could pack in 2 Infernals and not get too far behind, you mentioned that late game scaling, could have Afreeca potentially catch up in this game.
I'm just taking another quick look at the replay. Fiddlesticks able to ult in there with Dread. Then he gets the Umbral Trespass, and even though he goes down here, mission accomplished, he got Rost.
Yeah, really got to hand it to him. Made it happen. I'm also very happy about the build of aiming. We saw the Cassiopeia bot a little bit would go into the Ludens and just run out of mana real quick. So Archangel's is going to be the choice here for aiming. not going to be running out of mana at some of these sustained fights at the big objectives, especially this next Infernal.
Aiming has teleport available, and yet he's pathing up into top lane instead of being at the Infernal and then teleporting to top because there's going to be no neutral objective on the map for the next 3 minutes. So KT definitely sending him a thank you for that, at least. As meanwhile, we're about to have a potential fight in bot lane.
Yep, trying to line up that stun, and here comes Dread on the Rast, and as well as the Fiddlesticks getting underneath that turret, they're just getting on top of that guy as Empty is going to go down. Spirit goes low, but not able to be sniped by BDD. And here's Kingin in the backside. Huge destruction from the Vladimir as everybody else just easily able to follow up. Nothing that King can do all alone. It's a total team wipe to the side of KT.
Yeah, and this is going to be the Infernal going over to KT, which is not what Afreeca wanted to have happen. They're going to get a lot of minions now, more XP. Red buff might even go down too, given the death timers. Taking another quick look at it, you can see Keen trying to shove bottom lane. Teleport called in here from Cassiopeia. And then Keen kept running at them. They had the collapse coming from UCal and Spirit. And then as soon as they pick up UCal, they should just be retreating backwards. And Spirit had his flash. He definitely could have broke turret aggro. And instead, they get flanked by Vladimir. And just way too much damage. And this is utter chaos. This is the total opposite of what is good.
I mean, it's the Vlad's wet dream, right? It's the best fight that you could possibly get. I mean, I think he ulted 4 people as well. It's like, it doesn't really get much better than that. And now he's at 2.5 items, 2-0-3. He's got a massive bounty, almost the most farm in the lane. Plus Kleptomancy means that this Vladimir is already online, basically.
Yeah, and at this point, KT, we talked about their composition needed to get ahead. It wanted to be ahead, and then it wants to run at the opponent. Well, they have all the resources necessary to do that, and they're too far ahead right now for a Cassiopeia and Zoe to try to stabilize this. With the Vladimir, they're going to be able to ignore turrets. I don't know how Afreeca is supposed to survive against a turret siege now, when Vlad's just going to dive you. And at Baron, Afreeca's team composition is not designed to push back against Baron sieges. There's sort of like a pseudo-poke comp.
Well, it's going to be rough when you are behind with this kind of composition. We'll see if they can finally try to come back in this one, but KT, even picking up their own Infernal, feels so good for the Kha'Zix Lucian Vlad combination. Going to be loving it as Snowflower might be in a little bit of trouble here. Doesn't have his flash. Spirit going to be able to land that fear as dunked. Okay, Keen going to get in there, but take a look at the damage that KT are packing right now. Trying to get on top of Keen as Zenit is going man mode right now. Has a double kill already, but is going to go down eventually. As maybe a little bit too confident in that one, but ended up getting a couple of kills in the end. King and not even there, but now they're going for the push in mid lane.
It ends up being a 2-for-2. They're going to lose some turret HP, but it's not the end of the world, and trades like this are beneficial for Afreeca. Anything that gives them a little bit of an acceleration in gold, trying to get to the item so that they can hold on, it's what they need to do. Afreeca can make it to the 30-minute mark, 32-minute mark. That's around the time where KT's comp is going to start tippering off for sure, especially given their accelerated advantage. They're bound to hit that mark faster sooner than later.
Yeah, but 30 minutes, a long time away. Still got 9, and then they've got to get over the hump once they get there. So KT for now, feeling pretty good. Good enough for their Lucian Zenit to just go 1v5.
And we're seeing live in the bottom left, but in the top right, or on the main screen right here is the replay, and you can just see this Lucian doesn't care about anything. Cast the cleanse right there, goes into the Zanya's Dread. Was able to eventually get him with the Ross, and they chase away Umpty. And remember, Kingen was not present for that fight.
Wasn't even there. If he was, would have been a much better story, no doubt, for KT. As the items, as you mentioned, are beginning to come in here, especially for the Cassiopeia, already at 2.5. Getting to that core real quick. We'll have to wait and see if aiming can be the big carry for the side of Afreeca.
And right now, everyone's posturing around Baron. BDD does have teleport available to him. He did just complete the Righteous Glory. Duskblade of Drakthar completed now as well for Umti. So at this point, Baron should just be used as a bait. Start the Baron. You have Urgot. He can tank it. Force Afreeca to come into you. Righteous Glory at them. Run at them with the Vladimir. And just delete them. Afreeca doesn't have the resources to actually take a fight right now.
Yeah, they're just sitting. They're chilling. They don't want to fight unless they get the perfect engage onto someone like Snowflower, as they did in the last time with the follow-up onto the Sleepy Trouble bubble. But everybody for now kind of sitting back, doing their thing, farming up. Everybody trying to catch up to Zenit and Kingen that have the lion's share of the gold in this game so far. Believe that Zenit is still ahead of Kingen, even though the Klepto is there, as he is 6-1-4. He's picked up a lot of gold in this game.
And then Ocean Drake coming up in 15 seconds. Not sure if they're just going to have BDD or Umti go solo that, but it would then equalize the Drakes, at least for both teams. And all this posturing, I mean, it's not doing anything, and this reminds me of the KT Rolster that we've come to know over the past 2 years, especially where it doesn't really matter how big their lead is in mid-game. They have absolutely no idea, it seems, what to do with it, or at least in what manner.
Yeah, that is very true. Really struggling to find an angle.
Oh,
okay. See you later. This Vladimir, well, he's online as
this way.
Dread is like, please take me to your team. I don't want to be part of this one anymore. As Kingen essentially says, I've had enough, guys. We're fighting. I'm going to kill them. And that he did.
Yep, and that's going to be Baron definitely for KT, unless some sort of a unholy Zoe steal comes in.
It would be truly unholy if that does actually happen. Culling is coming out, just trying to zone them away, but Keen getting on into the pit, but he is going to be hooked up. As, that was actually really close. As Vlad, is going to get stunned down before he can do too much in this fight. KT are going to say, no, we're not going to take it. We got the Baron, we got what we came for, and we're going to go home.
Yeah, and it looked like KT was actually being extremely cautious there at the Baron pit. And Afreeca, it almost actually looked like UCal was going to steal the Baron with that Zoe.
It's really close.
The Smite isn't super powerful yet. The Umti was only level 13, so it's not like the Smite is dealing 1k true damage or whatnot yet. So Zoe, definitely one of the few champions that could potentially steal it. And instead of Afreeca now, they come over and take the Ocean Drake.
You can see what they try to line up with fears and CCs for Zoe, but
and then
they get one ward.
And it was so unfortunate that Cassiopeia didn't spot him out due to the vision radius. That Kane Umbral trespassed into that. Vladimir found out that that blood was not very good.
Yeah, wasn't happy with that one. Fortunately, we didn't get the slow-mo on that, but it definitely was really close on the Paddle Star. But now with the Baron, KT, they don't want this to go to 30-35 minutes. They say, let's push it in, let's get a couple of turrets, let's get as much as we can on this map before Afreeca can catch up at all.
Baron Sieges is not what the Afreeca comp wants to really handle. Zoe's wave clear, not enough, and just none of the champions on Afreeca are strong enough against these Baron-enhanced minions, and so turrets are definitely bound to fall. You can just see that Snowflower waiting to get into mid lane. Really interesting to see that they're not just trying to go ham underneath the turret.
Yeah. They're definitely incredibly careful and cautious as they do go around with this one, leaving Zenit to clear that up by himself. Rotating down to the bottom side, as kind of feels like it's only the Cassiopeia that can do anything much against the Baron enhanced minions up in the top side. So they just leave Kingen up there to eventually rotate with his own TP.
And look at the itemization out of KT. Everyone has Mercury Treads, a lot of magic resistance, which makes it really problematic because the only two champions dealing damage are Zoe and Cassiopeia, and to a degree Fiddlesticks. You sort of rely on him to do damage as a mage support. And so with Dread not even having completed his Black Cleaver yet, he just doesn't offer enough damage.
Zoe's Trouble Bubble from miles away. Down at the bottom side of that big cliff. As the Baron, I feel like they could have gotten a bit more, but so far it's only a couple of turrets. As BDD alone can't push against Sion, who never takes damage. And they didn't really make a big play for any of the turrets just yet. Looks like they're going to go for the top side, take out the final inner turret.
And in the end, they do end up getting 3 turrets and some chip damage, it seems. But in the end, I mean, it's ultimately going to be a net gain from the Baron, but I don't think it was one of the cleanest that we could have had.
Yeah.
A turret, an inhibitor turret for sure, should have just fell. But KT, like you're mentioning, they seem to be playing very cautious, and maybe their current standing is playing into that. Maybe it's affecting them. They recognize, hey, we're really far ahead. Maybe we can just wait and try to do something even more safe than safe. Like 99% isn't quite good enough. They need the 99.5, you know, so.
It's I think you're right about the psychology aspect of it, where it's like, it seems like they're just not very confident nowadays. Might also have to do with the fact that they're playing players that haven't found tons of success in the past. Guys like Smeb, guys like Score, who have been benched for other guys like King and Umti that are still looking to, you know, get their feet underneath them and really make a name for themselves as pros. And that might just be part of it, where it's like, well, they haven't found that success, so they're not making the big, confident moves that perhaps they have the ability to, and instead taking it a little bit more carefully than they really have to.
And right now, KT not looking like they're showing any interest in trying to look for a team fight. Instead, Baron coming back up again in a minute. Cloud Drake also spawning around the same time. And this is actually one of those situations where you'll often hear me harp on about how taking dragons that are not immediately beneficial to you is often a bad choice. Well, we saw that immediately after KT took the Baron, Afreeca responded by capturing an Ocean Drake. Well, what would have happened if you just randomly spawned an Infernal or a Mountain? It's completely illogical to assume that you would ever have map control by the time the next dragon was spawned, and you could have ended up hurting yourself.
Yeah, this could have just been a free Infernal extra to KT, just by taking down the Ocean, rather than not taking the Ocean and letting it die maybe a minute later to KT so that they couldn't pick it up right before the Baron and, you know, have that thing. Fortunately for Afreeca, it is just Cloud. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, well, don't worry. They definitely needed that extra regen as they're hugging their fountain. So, definitely going to come in handy.
Burns keep coming in as Cassiopeia trying to burn down Tenet. You can see he does a little bit of damage, but Blade of the Rune King is an item, as he's not too concerned about that. Will be near full health soon enough, as the Baron is available. We'll see if KT is going to make a big move over to that one, as they are 11,000 gold ahead. Could certainly do it. You take a look at teleport wards as always, especially for the Vlad. They have one really deep into the blue side that has not been control warded, I don't believe, on that side. They also do have the control ward right to the left, to the west of here. So get the big zoom out from our observer. Thank you very much, as tons of wards now are actually down. They're looking to bait this one into a fight.
Yeah, this is critical game point.
Okay, Dread already going to take a massive amount of damage. Vlad coming in with the TP. Spirit looking to potentially spear him away from the fight, as in comes BDD with that Righteous Glory. They'll be happy to chip away at anyone, even Keen in the front line, as Zoe trying to do something, but he gets hooked into the backside, as now BDD getting a little bit too frisky is going to go down to the Cassiopeia, but slowly but surely the big Hemo Plague, as Spirit is going to go bye-bye. See you later, Keen. Kingen also does have his Zonias. Do they have enough damage to fight back against Kingen? Can they kill him? He is going to be bursted down, but no, Empty is going to clean this one up, as Spirit is just getting out of here. He's had enough. He's not going to be fighting anymore for Afreeca.
The problem is, at the end of the day, this is a really big win for Afreeca.
Yeah.
We talked about earlier, this is around the timing where if Afreeca can stabilize this Baron and deny it, they become the ones in the driver's seat. We take another look. Vladimir is having such a hard time reaching this back line because what was supposed to be a potentially flank teleport or something doesn't turn out to be, and even though Dread is whiffing all of his W's, except for that one right there, he knocked up BDD, you can just see that Zenit and Kingen having a really hard time getting onto the Team Dread. Whiffed another one right there, but the damage from Cassiopeia and Zoe having the luxury of being able to kite backwards because KT's comp, it only knows one direction, and that's forward.
Yeah.
Forced into that hand, and this is a lot of gold going over to Afreeca, and when you have champions on KT that start utilizing their 4th, 5th, 6th items less effectively than champions on Afreeca, you start encountering problems where, yeah, okay, KT has an 11,000 gold lead. How much does that really mean?
Yeah. KT have to find a way to get into the backline. I was surprised that Kingen didn't just open the fight with a flash. They were all grouped up as 5 in the mid lane, and he could have just opened it up like that, but he waited, and that's the most favorite time for Cassiopeia. Yeah. You just kite all the way back, over and over. You do a bajillion damage, and she did the most damage in the fight. It was over 6,000 damage just from the Cassiopeia saying, thank you very much, you know, I'm just going to kite you for days.
And that's one of the problems that KT, they are reliant on Baron in order to end a game. And because they took that Clown Drake just a few moments ago.
The what Drake?
Cloud Drake just a few moments ago, an Elder spawning in a minute and a half. And now KT is going to be basically guillotined by the Baron and the Elder, where you can't just trade the Baron for the Elder because then Afreeca's comp straight up beats you.
Yeah.
You also can't just go to the Elder because then you experience the same problem as you're trying to capture Baron. And now there's these two major thorns in your side where the Afreeca comp utilizes both objectives better, and they stop you from getting it better because if you're starting it, then you're charging into them on a runway, and you are relying on Kingen having teleport. Well, he doesn't have it.
That he does not as Dread.
Oh,
boy, how did he even go down there in the front side? Fear Beyond Death.
Okay, well.
From the right side as see you later, Spirit. That's going to be a couple of kills just gifted on over to KT. As Sion will be able to get out of this one, but Kingen trying to make a case to go for the dive is not going to go for it. They'll be happy to take the Baron now after getting the 2 free kills.
They're going to be able to get the Baron off of this and convert it into the Elder, so throw out everything I just talked about, as Dread had other plans in mind.
Yeah, I mean, not sure what that one was. He was in the wall, and then he ended up in the bush, in vision. And Zenit's like, okay, I guess I'll just kill you then. As the Baron is going down, Snowflower and Kingen threatening them. The smite is going to come in, and oh boy, they found the Zoe. Okay. Yukal is going to have the Zhonya's, but immediately gets Fear Beyond Death, as now it's Kingen versus Cassiopeia, and this time with Vlad so fed, he is going to be able to win this fight. Sion dies eventually, is the happy ending to this story, as KT with the Baron pick up a bunch of kills and could even go on to win the game.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be the end of the game in just a couple of minutes here.
Spirit,
we have a teleport coming in.
Oh God, they're just going for it. Zenit as well, trying to get on in there. Spirit is going to go down 2. There is finally the ace, and KT will push on for the win.
Yeah, and there's no way that this is going to be able to be stopped. Yukal coming up in 20 seconds, aiming just after him, but it's too little too late. The Nexus is definitely going to fall here.
The cannon's not in range, has too much range, but you are right, you are correct. It is eventually going to fall, and KT, even though it took them a while, they eventually are able to take down game number 1. Started off very, very strong in the bottom side there. Vlad got ahead,